Hi guys, thanks for showing up. And this is the Nocturnal Feeding with James from Fish Room Fever. Doggone it, it got me being on the other side.
Yeah.
And I'm Chattanooga Ed. And we're here to just talk about fish stuff.
Or would you like me to attempt to redeem myself saying the hellos?
I would love that because I figured it out. I can't get on my page, like my YouTube thing, until after we go live, and then I can pop it out. Otherwise, it doesn't give me like notifications to my own stuff.
Well,
Does that make sense? Okay.
It doesn't, but I get what you're saying. All right, let's see if I can nail this one since I screwed up my intro and hellos. We got colored guppies, Darlene's. No, already screwed it up. I started to say Darlene's fish tanks. Darlene's tanks, Kaler's Aquatics, Rico Stan, Fish Pappy, Priscilla MK, John Cox, Dragon Lair, T-Bone, Black Label Carling, John Larson, Pew Fish Son, BJ Palmer, Cody Son. I think I missed Cody Son in my intro. Sorry about that. It jumped on me. That's awesome. That means we got lots of people in here. There's Cody Son. All right. Pat and Jess Cole, Rico Stan, Daddy Ken Aquatics. What's going on? Kenny E, Panoxky's Tanks, Gina French, Pegasus Arena still with us, Stan Slee, the Zen Ginger, Tankster. I was going to say Tankster when I read your name. Tankster. Mary Page Flynn, GRB, how are you? Fantastic Freaks, Sandy Doty, lots of repeats. BJ Palmer, how are you? HC Aqua, Scott's Aquatics, Hat Trick Farm, Delilah's Critter, Sarah Lynn Snow. Now I'm going in reverse. Fish Tank Barn, what's up, Mike? Sherry Kramer, I'm sure I missed somebody. I'm about to say I think I got everybody. I'm sure I missed somebody. My apologies, but I appreciate you all being here. I'm going to turn it over to your... See, it messed me up being on opposite sides. Your awesome host here, Chattanooga Ed, to kick us off here.
Well, I thought maybe tonight, after checking out your awesome setup today, we would maybe talk about trying to increase your guppy yields. And I mean, people have been doing it. I mean, well, you were talking in the previous show, we're talking about the past on how things were different. And I mean, I'm sure people put them in a separate box and whatnot, or a separate aquarium. I remember my dad, he used to breed guppies and sell them in the 70s and the 80s. And it was before good lights, so we didn't have plants all over the place.
Right.
His go-to thing looked almost like Christmas ivy. It was a wire that had two rubber balls on both ends. And you could bend it any way you want, but he just kind of bend it with a bow.
Right.
But it was just like an artificial evergreen tree.
Okay.
And he would keep that in all of his tanks. And normally he wouldn't have to separate any of his fry. And that was kind of his go-to back then.
Absolutely. I think mine, and that's an awesome idea. I really, really like that. It's almost like a do-it-yourself spawning mop, except it's a do-it-yourself fry hide. That's very, very cool.
Yeah, you just want to make sure you want to put it, some wire that doesn't rust.
Right, absolutely. Well, and I will say, even if it does rust, back in the day, kind of touching on what we were talking about before, it wasn't in this book, but back in the day, I'm sure several of you in here can probably remember when the recommendation to increase your iron for your plants was to stick a nail in the tank.
Yep.
So rust's not necessarily a horrible thing, even though some people would shudder at the thought of rust getting in a tank. But in terms of keeping it sustainable and usable, definitely something that's not going to rust would be good. But I've found even with tanks, and you saw how much guppy grass is in some of my tanks today. Some of them are packed to the point that I have to move it and take it out just so the fish have some room to swim. Even with that, as soon as a fry pops out on a lot of these guppies that I've got, the parents will just snipe it, super, super quick. I was actually the pineapple snake skins that you saw earlier. I said that the female probably had within the next week was going to pop. She actually popped shortly after you left. So I was in there eating dinner and I saw her giving birth, and I had to start pulling fry out because I watched and I was like, maybe they'll be okay. And then one of the other females came along and got one, and one of the males came along and grabbed one. So I saved about 36 fry. So
oh wow,
I'm happy with that. Yeah,
drop.
It was, but she's a big girl. So I was expecting probably 40. But yeah, so it was nice. But no matter what I do in terms of cover, they seem to always manage to get some. And then I've had some that did really well not eating the fry, and for whatever reason started to.
Oh,
So, like for example, the White Cross Endlers that I've got from Tampa Tom or Tom Patterson. They did really, really well at not eating any fry, and then one day I looked and about half the fry were gone. I was like,
oh, nuts.
okay, which is why I had them in that hang-on box that circulates water through it and back into the tank. So I've just gotten to the point where I've started pulling fry as soon as I see any fry drop. Right now I've got some containers that have one fry in them, just because I don't know how many they're going to have or how many they may have already had and eaten. So I've started pulling fry. So some of the things that you can do if you've got bedded cups lying around, which I've got quite a few of those. If you've got a small drop, like some of my endlers only drop 2 or 3 fry. So, if they drop those and the parents eat them, you've got forever just to get 2 more fry out of them. I've got them floating in the bedded cups, and I just change the water out once a day, but they're floating in the parent tank. That way they can stay at a good temperature, same as the tank. And then after about a week, they're usually big enough that I'll just put them right back into the tank. Another
Now,
thing,
was that the glass betta bowl?
so that vase, that was one of the temporary betta housings I'd used. It was a glass vase from the dollar store, so I paid $1 for them. And those actually float really well, as you saw in the tanks. And you can have them filled about that deep, and they float really well in there. But one of the things that I just did the other day, and I had some pictures. I'm going to do a video on this, so please don't steal my idea to make a video. Is I've got a bunch of these empty Extreme containers. I peeled off the label, and I kind of got this idea after using that Zis breeder box. It's got the stainless steel mesh on it. So I peeled off the label, and then I dremeled out a square here, and I took stainless steel mesh on the inside, and then I took 2 suction cups on the back. And the reason I did 2 is not because this is big enough to need it, but because if you just put one at the top, like if you look at a lot of your breeder boxes, it's going to hang like that. So I put 2, that way it would just keep it leveled out. And so water can circulate through it. It's big enough to hold even a good sized fry drop for a week. Until they get big enough. And so I'm working on just having one of these do-it-yourself breeders in every single tank that's got guppies. That way, if I'm walking through doing my feedings and my checks, I see fry, I drop them, I pull them, drop them in that thing. It stays in the tank. There's no extra maintenance to it or anything like that. And it's always available, because buying breeder boxes, even the cheap net ones, $8 a piece at the local fish store. If you're lucky, you can find them for, maybe $5 at a swap. But that's my recommendations.
You also got the one from the Aquarium Co-op.
Yeah, I've got that.
Was that one in any of your tanks?
Yeah, that one has got. Oh goodness, now I can't remember. And then see, this is why I bought the label maker and labeled all the tanks. Yeah, that was in the rack of tanks, the 10 gallons that are on end. It was in one of those. It's in the 3rd row down, 3rd from the left, but I can't remember what's in that tank. But yeah, it's got maybe about 6 fry in it right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I've got that one, and then I've got several of the net ones that you can hang on. I've got the Marina, which they're now relabeled as the Flubel hang-ons that actually have the airline attachment, and they flow water from the tank back into the tank using lift from the airline. And I've just got a bunch of different stuff. But I think as I feed fish, and because that's another thing, we end up with, especially those of us that have a lot of tanks, we end up with lots of empty fish food containers. And I think you're the same way. We're always like, what can I use this for? So that's a good use, I felt, and a fairly cheap way to make a little hang-on breeder box.
Yeah, that's really cool. That was really neat.
Thank you.
I do use a lot of plants, and I've been concerned that I wasn't getting any fry out of my blue Moscows, the Japanese blue tails. And I thought it was because I have 2 zebra loaches in there, and I'm afraid that the zebra loaches might be eating my fry. But I just noticed today there's quite a few that look like they're about a week old at the top. So that makes me feel better. I think after this show's done, I'm going to try to still get the 2 zebra loaches out and put them over in the Molly tank, the wild Molly tank.
Yeah.
Because there's like an explosion of small snails in there, and they're going to just munch on that. They're going to love it. And you see, I was overfeeding those guys because their stomachs were all sunken in and everything, and they were unhealthy. So bringing them back up, and now they're nice and fat and looking good. But because of that, I got snails. So I think it'll be a win-win. But I've decided I'm going to try to make, and I've started the video. I'm videoing it as I produce it, but I'm making a guppy nursery with 5-gallon tanks. And I guess I could kind of show you how it's on the opposite side of the room. See, right there, there's 5 of them. And then I've got one more kind of farther down. I've got 2 more outside that I need to clean up. But I plan on labeling those, and always, like, one of those is going to be designated for my Moscow Reds, another for my Moscow Blues. I find that the Moscows really pound the fry more than any of the other guppies.
Absolutely. My purple Moscows will hunt every single one of them down. You know, the others, even if when I wasn't pulling, I could still usually end up with a couple. But the Moscows, I was getting absolutely zero. And they're having large drops. I had a Moscow that dropped well over 30 the other day. So they're having large drops in there, but they're just completely getting devoured by the adults.
Well, I plan on I have guppy grass I could put in them, but I'd kind of like to do moss. And I'm going to turn it again. Sorry, guys. If you see, I'm looking for something to use as a pointer. I use my glasses. That tank there with the sand bottom, I've got one big blob of moss in there. And I would like to get blobs of moss in all those upper tanks.
Absolutely. So that is one thing I will say. When I've got a tank full of moss, I do see a better yield, at least survivability anyways, in terms of fry.
Well, you know, I like how the guppy grass, and if I'm not going to leave the females in there, so once they drop, I'll put the girls back in the colony, and I'll just try to raise them out for a couple of weeks, and then they'll go back once they're big enough to swim.
Right.
And because that's another thing, is you can't leave the fry in there too long, or they'll just eat their little brothers and sisters when you drop them in.
Yeah. But and that's one thing that I didn't mention, but I try and like pull the females and put them in those little containers I'm making, the little fry boxes, so that they drop in there, and then pull the females out. But like I'd put that pineapple in the box last night before bed because I thought she was close to dropping. And then this morning when I got up, I looked, she hadn't dropped any fry. So I said, well, I'll let her out so she's not stressing being in a small space. And then, you know, tonight she drops them before I can put her back in the box. But I've got one. It's the Blue Arctic Volcanoes from LRB, because those are an expensive fish. I've got that female in there because, you know, $50 a pair. I want every single fry that I can get. Same with like my purple koi platinums from him, and my fire and ice, which the fire and ice, those fry have their own dedicated 10-gallon, because those guys drop so many babies that I just gave them their own 10 for fry, kind of like the the purple Moscows. I probably got about 100 fry now, so they've got their own dedicated 10-gallon to grow out a little bit.
Well, I put my tanks up high, my fry tanks.
Yep.
Because I've noticed just when I'm like zipping the temperatures all the way down, the bottom ones will be about 74.5, the middle will be 75.5, and the top will be about 76.5. So that's even higher. So it might be at about 78, 77. I'm hoping that that'll help maybe even grow them a little quicker. I bought these cute little sponge corner filters for the 5-gallon tanks.
Yep.
It came with a hang off the back. It was a great deal. Bob Kaler helped me out on letting everybody know, and they had the sale. I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was half price at PetSmart. So that dropped the little packages down to $20. Actually, they were 21, but the lady gave me an extra $1 a deal. So they were 20 a piece.
Nice.
Yeah, and they came with this little filter. I don't want that because I don't want it to suck up any of my little guys. And they're sideways. And the little let's see. I've got this here. Unfortunately, I put everything on top of it. The little hood is set up for it to be on the side. See that? So, yeah. I mean, that's obviously I can't have those on there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe someday there'll be a giveaway, or who knows? Maybe I'll figure out some use for them. But I figured for $20 you can buy them at Petco with just the tank. I think they're about 17. So I figured with the lid, and that's saving me time to have to, cut one, and then it may not be perfect. It was just well worth it.
Absolutely. Oh, can I say something real quick? I forgot to do this during my stream. And I don't mean to be religious on the channel, but positive vibes, thoughts, prayers, whatever you believe in, good energy. To the owner of my local fish store, Kenny, Aquatic Marine. He had a real bad accident, ended up with like a 7-inch gash on his arm. It cut the muscle, was what they were saying, a whole bunch of other stuff. Really, really bad. So thoughts and prayers out to him, positive vibes, whatever your thing is, for a speedy recovery for him. Because he's a really good guy, and he works really hard to maintain that store and always update it, and to the point that I fear he's going to run himself out of business one of these days, as much as he invests in that place. But it's amazing how much he cares about the community. So hopefully he'll get better quickly, and we wish him a speedy recovery.
Oh, the cat just tried to kick my water over. Yeah, I was bummed out today. I was hoping to say hi to Kenny. He's such a good guy. Super nice guy. So that is a bummer.
I could turn this back on. I had to talk to Miss Fever for a second, so I should shut it off.
That's right. When somebody cool like that is hurt, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
And we're both blessed. James has got him as his local fish store guy in Knoxville, and I've got an awesome guy with Rob at Aquatic Aesthetics. We're both. It's so cool to have a cool.
It is. And they both actually have YouTube channels. We should mention them more often.
Yeah. Really, we should.
Your guys got some awesome stuff too. I would be just as proud if I lived where you are to call him my local guy, as I am to have Kenny. But Kenny is 3 minutes away from me, and I got really, really lucky when he took over that store about 2 years ago, or about a year and a half ago now. And talked to him. And at the time, I had like 82 subscribers on my channel, and he was like, what can I do to help you out? How can I help? You want some free product? You want something to do a video about? You can film here anytime. Anything we can do to help you. We're all about the community, and I've just been really blessed to have that support. Plus a great fish store on top of that.
Yeah. Well, I got this from my local fish store. From Rob. I bought them out. He bought 5 to see if they would sell, and I bought all 5. So hopefully he gets me 3 more. And tomorrow I plan on taking him a whole bunch of these Africans that I've got that like to kill each other.
Oh, time out. Candy's trying to quietly enter the chat late and lurk. Candy's here, everybody. Hi, Candy. Thank you for being here.
One of the Mabunas right now, he's like doing a dance. He's just swimming in circles and stuff. Well, I'm going to put him in a 5-gallon bucket, and that's going to become a guppy tank soon. So,
very, very cool. Yeah, I've got some fish I need to take up to the LFS and make some more room. I've still got about 20 tanks outside in the storage building, but I've got to build racks for. Candy said, well, thanks for blowing my cover, James. Sorry, I had to do that. Oh, Nico. I love that cat.
I don't know why he's just not relaxed. He wants to jump up on the fish tanks today.
Thank you, Zen, for posting the links for Aquatic Aesthetics and Aquatic Marine's YouTube channels. Very much appreciated. So, yeah. It's so silly. Yeah, that 220 gallon. it already had cats in it right after you left.
I don't trust him that high. One time he was up on one of my bookshelves and I didn't know it. And he jumped off the bookshelf as I was walking through the house. He was trying to land on me. And all he managed to do was catch one of his back claws into my ear.
Ooh.
And I probably needed stitches. That was pretty bad. At least I've got covers.
Stitches. You don't need stitches.
Yeah.
I'm just picking on you.
I didn't. I just sucked it up and cried.
My not to digress too far, but I've had well over 100 stitches throughout my life. My sister's had, I think, 8 or 7, and they were from one time she got a fish hook in her back. And it was the little teeniest little thing, and they gave her like 7 or 8 stitches for it. It's like, oh my God. But
I wonder if some type of bug or something flew up there, because he's been watching that up area this whole time. Sorry, guys, kind of derailed me there.
Yeah, so I've got to get that 220-gallon set up, and then I'll be able to decide what I'm going to do. Ed's kind of got me rethinking setting up another rack in that living room, because it would be really nice to have like a swivel rocking chair in there, a swivel recliner, that you could sit in the middle and kind of look at all the tanks. And then on the flip side of that, if I built that extra rack, it would be double-sided and hold about 20 more tanks. So, but I could always come in here and maybe get rid of this. This desk is a fold-up that I built anyways. It actually folds up into the window frame, and maybe do the rack in here. And now that I'll have that fish room set up, maybe start streaming from in there instead. So I don't know. We'll see, but definitely lots of stuff coming.
It'd be cool if you could get a swivel desk. You know, your chair with like a thing that you could attach to it with your computer and camera, and then you could just do a 360.
I could build one. I mean, I built this thing and it's hinged and collapsible. I could build one. I think the coolest one I've ever seen is it's like 5 levels, and so it looks like 5 shelves, but it actually folds down and they all lock together into a solid tabletop. But now we're really digressing. But yeah, it's an ever-changing process. But there's Nico.
Yeah.
But I've still got 20 gallons and 29s. I've got a 55 that's still on the front porch I've got to get in the house and somewhere. I've got another 55 that's on one of the metal frames, the traditional metal frame stands. So I'll probably build a stand that can hold both of those in the same spot. So there's always something to do. But I've got some new software for editing, so that's going to help a lot. I found that once I tried to get into green screen and multi-layering videos and audios and things, I hadn't been able to do what I wanted to do on the previous software, so that's kind of been a setback for me. But I've got some new software, and it's really, really great. It does awesome with green screen and overlapping videos, so I'll have some stuff coming. It's, I think, really cool, and you're going to like.
Nico is going to be 6.
You know, I've been looking for highlighted comments, but they're probably putting at Chattanooga, and that's why I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, you know, I don't know if I see them.
Go back to
There's one from John Cox. He hates breeder box. Coming from a long time and then I got to pull it over because I don't see the. Oh, guppy breeding. Coming from a long time of guppy breeding, he hates breeder boxes. That's. I try to do. I like the Kabomba. That was. Thank you for getting us back on track, John. Yeah, I like the Kabomba plant. I love the moss. I love guppy grass, and I like Mysteria. Those are my 4 favorite plants for guppy fry. And I don't know if anybody else has their opinions, but that's totally mine. I know as soon as I let my guard down, he is going to jump on me and hurt me.
Yeah. I'm waiting for it. We're going to have to try and do an instant replay.
Uh, most people get trolled in the chat, but I get trolled by my cat.
I gotta love it. Okay, so you said that's your top four. So I'm going to give you the top three. Guppy grass, of course, is one of them. Java moss, which is probably my top one, but it doesn't grow nearly as fast as guppy grass, so I might change it to guppy grass as my top one just because it grows so much quicker. And my third one is kind of a little different. Most people would recommend different types of floating plants, but my third is actually going to be jungle val. This stuff right here is so dense. And here, try not to give you all motion sickness here, but that stuff is so dense, and it's about 18 inches to 2 foot tall. Some of it is, so it also gets up to the top and gives good cover. But it is so dense in that muck guppy tank that the fry can hide in there no problem. There are places that the big fish can't get to. So that would be my top three.
Yeah, I've got jungle val in this tank, and I can't believe how it's just taken over. I need
to pull the stuff that's really tall, that other stuff would shoot up, but it's all blocked from light right now. It's still doing well, but as soon as I get to 220, I'm kind of harvesting this. Once I get to 220 set up, all this really tall stuff is going in there. So that'll all start to take off again and grow out.
He's chewing on the Pleco wafers bag, and because it's plastic.
It's kind of like John on KG had mentioned they had to take that bag of Hikari out of their stock for the site because the cat got a hold of it and opened it up.
See all those bumps? Those are from him chewing on it. You know what? John got trolled by his cat a lot.
Mine aren't doing it today. They're probably hanging out in the 220 gallon.
It's funny. He's just staring at me. Look at that. It's kind of creepy.
So how do you feel about temperature increases? For anybody that doesn't know, raising the temperature can increase your fry production in your guppies as well as your shrimp, but it does shorten the lifespan. So that's why I ask what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, if you do it like a real season, if it gets cold enough, they won't have any fry. And then in the summertime, they really pound it out and have a ton of fry. Like the record for one fish drop was like 100 or 240 or something.
Right.
We looked this up before.
Yeah.
But and that was because the female went the whole winter without having a drop. So, it's kind of. I think I prefer to keep it right at like 74, 75 because I like to be dealing with stuff nonstop. I'm in this hobby, so I have something to do.
Absolutely. I laughed, one, because Nico was yawning up there, and two, they're having a really good conversation about different berries and things and whatnot. And I'm looking for comments regarding the guppies, and I read a comment that soil chemistry affects the flavor too. And I'm like, guppy flavor? And then I realized that they were having the berry conversation still. So that was funny. But yeah, your soil can affect how your guppies taste, by the way.
Cherry barbs are the best.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One interesting thing, I like apple snails.
What about your chocolate shrimp? They're pretty good.
They are. Those are just for dessert, though. I'm trying to watch my weight. One thing it did mention in here in the guppy section, and we've talked about this before in terms of the female guppies holding the sperm for 6 to 9 months. It says that they can hold enough for 6 drops. So that's pretty much 6 to 9 months anywhere in that area. So I thought that was interesting. I forgot about it when we were talking about the book in the stream. We didn't really touch on the actual fish knowledge, but speaking of guppies.
Well, this book was made in the 90s, I think. Or no, we found out this was in the 90s. And it basically said that the guppies were done. They don't, like, they said how many different types of fish to put in a tank. And it doesn't even give guppies. It gives mollies and platies and swordtails. Because it's basically saying that guppies weren't any good to keep anymore. Isn't that bizarre? And they said the only way to get good guppies is to get them from a local breeder And it's like, that is so crazy that a book would do that. But this isn't very
good to pounce. He's getting antsy.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna help him down, guys.
Absolutely. Oh goodness. Oh, there it was. The Zen Ginger says we have guppies in our discus tank. They breed like crazy, but very few fry make it to adulthood. So I'm guessing they taste delicious to discus. LOL. So speaking of which, Zen, do you have a video and I've missed it and didn't get a notification, or are you going to be putting a video on your channel of that tank that I got the video of on Facebook? Because Zen's got a really nice discus tank that I think she should show off to the rest of the world.
Who does?
Zen Ginger.
Oh yeah, I bet you she's just got awesome everything. I saw her zebras today.
Yep, I got to see your zebras in person.
Yep, they're super cute. And very colorful. Well, is black and white colorful? Hi.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to catch the first part of it because Beth's comment. But to answer your question, yeah, I think they're pretty. And you got to see them with all the Blue Dream shrimp in the same tank.
Yeah.
I really like the way those go together. And the zebras, if you can get a close enough look at them, they've actually got some blue iridescence that starts to show up in the zebras, particularly on their fins. So that's really neat. But because Beth said, do you think I could glue bits of Christmas moss to lava rock? I'm setting up a 15-gallon cube for some half-inch self and mollies. Only tried gluing Java so far. And then the second part, how should I do it? Should I use different glue? I have super glue gel. Thank you. So I use super glue gel to glue moss all the time. I may not say all that. Every time that I'm trying to attach a moss to a rock or driftwood, I use super glue gel. You can tie it on. I've seen several people do that. Aquarium Co-op, the moss bridges they sell, it's tied on there with some black string. I've used the King of DIY at one point years ago. He'd added some moss to like some tree branches. He tied it on there with some black sewing thread. So you could do either one of those. Said I use glue all the time. And to answer that other question, do mollies like tannins on water too? Sorry guys, I'm lagging big time. I would think not. At least like I know the mollies that we brought back from Florida, they prefer harder water versus the softer water that you generally end up with tannins in the water. Don't know for sure, not a huge molly person, but just off of the little experience I have, and your John Cox also saying they like hard water.
Yeah, I think you could maybe cheat and add some type of, like some crushed coral or something to try to bring the water, give it hard, but also have tannins at the same time.
You could. That's definitely doable, I would think. However, I would be afraid of trying to do a double negative almost, if you will. Trying to decrease something and then cancel part of that out by increasing something on the flip side. But you could give it a try. I would just keep an eye on it as you do it.
Isn't one of the side effects of tannins is the softer water? It's not the primary thing.
Right.
So, you want the beneficial medical or whatever.
No, I agree with you. And that's one of the reasons I keep the tannins in my water versus trying to get them out for the piranhas, is because with the constant fin nipping and things, it's great to have that water have healing properties. I know crushed coral raises your hardness, but I don't know how they interact with each other, if you get what I'm saying, in terms of the molecular structure. If what the botanicals or whatever are doing to lower the water is properly countered by the crushed coral on a molecular level, or exactly how they work in conjunction. Just to be honest, to throw that out there.
Great question. I've thought about it, and I was just gonna add crushed shell or crushed coral to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm by no means saying that it won't work. I think that's a good idea. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate to the potential possibilities of failure.
Sure.
But no, I'm not. I'm not by any means saying that that's a bad idea. That's a good idea, and I think it's worth a try. And I'd love to have somebody do it and let us know how it works out. Let's see.
Some botanicals. I need to do some more black water. Oh my gosh, I don't have my lights on over my shrimp. I've got a couple of black water tanks for my shrimp, which I think was kind of a mistake. Don't do it, people. If you want to see your shrimp, if they're dark shrimp, it wasn't. I mean, they look beautiful, but I have a hard enough time seeing them with my glasses on. But I do have shrimplets in there. I saw them swimming around yesterday. Good job, Priscilla. I got my shrimp from Priscilla.
I've got to fix my chair real quick. I'm going to turn that off while I do this. The hydraulics are going out. I've gained too much weight, apparently.
And we don't want to see any plumber crack.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't see that. Just my big backside as I lean over to get to the handle on the backside of this thing.
That's normally where the plumber crack is.
I keep the crack covered, though. I did too much stocking work over the years and things where you're bending and kneeling and squatting and leaning and all that I don't, yeah.
I was in the factory for so many years. That's why I always wear an extra long undershirt.
Yep, exactly. Lost my live chat now, but hey, talking about plumber's crack, do we really need the chat?
Yeah, not really. Bob said he got some yellows from Priscilla. That's cool. I got some blue dreams and some green jades. So maybe in a year from now we can trade.
Yeah,
I've got a whole mess of them. I don't know how many I've got.
Some oranges, but I put them in what I think is now a cursed tank. It seems like just about everything I put in there has issues. It's just one of those, even with, draining it and just completely resetting the tank and starting over and cycling it again and all that. It just seems to have horrible luck with anything I put in it. So I've got them moved out, and see the chair is slowly sinking. If you watch the top of my head, you'll see me get lower. But I may have just hit the bottom there. I had really bad luck at first, but now that I've got them in a different tank, the orange sunkists are doing phenomenally well, and they look super great. And I've got a couple that are buried out, so looking forward to babies from Swiss Aquatics shrimp.
Awesome. Yep.
Yes, if you look now, there's a gap between my head and the top of the tank, and it was right there.
We don't notice it.
I do, because now I'm below the desk when I stick my arms out instead of up on it to get to the stuff.
Where Nico's at, that tank that he's leaning on is nothing but fry.
I put some of those in there.
You put all of those in there?
Oh, I did, yeah.
There's like 100, 200 in there. There's a whole mess of them.
See, Ed didn't do any work when he was in my fish room. When I'm in his fish room, I'm cleaning out duckweed and I'm moving fry and doing filter maintenance. But he moved a 220-gallon tank, so that makes up for it.
I just drove. I didn't move anything. But I did sit in a chair in your fish room. I held your son's hand as he showed me things.
My youngest was Chattanooga. Ed walked through the door and he's like, gave him a big old hug.
Well, when he grabbed my hand, I swore a cat had just grabbed my hand, because that's what he does to me. He's such a sweet little guy. Dominic, he's awesome. Oh, am I not supposed to say his name on live? I'm sorry.
That's fine. You're fine.
He's a wonderful little boy.
Excuse me.
All right. So, gosh. Well, yeah, so that was my plan, was to get my nursery in, and I'm going to do probably 5 tanks are going to be all my hardest to breed guppies, or not really, they're not hard to breed, the hardest to survive guppies. Then the other 3 tanks, I'm currently trying to get a rainbow cobra looking fish that I kind of bred like a whole mess of them in my tub by accident, but I don't know which ones are the females. So I'm going to be like experimenting with trying to find who the females are. And hopefully I can get that to work.
Very, very cool. Yeah, and I'm working with that purple line that you saw earlier that came out of the mutt guppy tank. So I'm hoping to get something going there. Those albino females, though, they just do not want to give me fry. And I think they're at the end of their lifespan, unfortunately. I've lost a couple of them. And it's even having them in different tanks and all the water conditions being fine and no diseases. They're just slowly, I'll come in and I'll find one gone. And then 3 days later, I'll find another one gone. And everything's fine in the tank. The males aren't, beating them up. So I think they're just at the end of their lifespan, and they were all from the same drop probably because I got them, at the same time, same place. So I'll have to find something else to put those purple males with and see what we can come up with.
Yep. Now, John brings up an interesting point. He says those are AOC cobras. And I totally agree. But if I develop them, I'm going to call them rainbows. My line is going to be rainbows.
There you go. Mine are going to be flying purple people eaters.
Oh, wow. That should be the piranhas, though.
Yeah.
They actually do eat people.
Just a little nibble every now and again.
Yep. But, yep, so that's going to be fun. And then I've also got some lyre tails guppies that I want to try to, actually, I don't know if they're lyre tails or if they're more of a double sword. But I think they're actually double swords. I'm going to try to breed them in a separate tank down below and try to get some of those guys coming out. I think that'd be pretty cool.
So it looks like Big J's is about 20 light. Big J's Fish Keeper from hitting the 1,000 mark. If you don't know Big J's Fish Keeper, go check his channel out. See if we can't get him to 1K. Fish Pappy has a great question. And we've only got about 15 minutes left, so it's a little late for me to say this. But if you have questions and you want me to see them, be sure you put @FishRoomFever so it highlights for me. I've been trying my best, but for some reason my monitor is really, really dim. And so I'm not being able to pick up on the chat quite as well as I normally am. But Fish Pappy said, where did it go? Wasn't that far up. There it is. Think we are going to be able to get you two up here to Evansville, Indiana, December 5th.
Did we talk about that today? We talked about it
The other day. Yeah, we talked about it at some point, but I think it's a yes. I do.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun.
To it. I think it's going to be a blast. That gives us a little bit of a cool down period, if you will, for hitting up fish swaps and things between now and December 5th. So the timing worked out well for me at least, and I should have some more tanks available by then. So
now, Fish Pappy, what's the club's name? I mean, I guess I could look it up on YouTube, but I figured, or on Facebook, but I figured might as well give him a. Oh, actually, I don't know when my heart surgery is scheduled.
Yeah, and you need to get that done, Ed.
Well, it's kind of up to them. I think that during the crisis right now that's going on, they really are trying not to give people surgeries if they don't have to. Well, I mean, right. I have to eventually because I've got my aortic heart valve, I think, or I don't know which. One of my heart valves, I have a birth defect. It needs to be replaced, and it's torn, and I have a aneurysm growing on it too. So that's really bad. And they were going to do emergency surgery like 2 months ago, and then they thought that the aneurysm wasn't big enough that they had to do the emergency yet. And they want me to see another guy, like the head surgeon, on November 4th. And we'll find out if I have surgery that week or when. I'm just letting the doctors decide. I'm not pushing them. But I'm not dragging my feet either.
Right. So don't reschedule for a fish event.
Yeah. Even though I came close to it if it would have been Aquashella.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to do that last one we went to LRB's too. It was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's always a blast going up to LRB's.
And Sean Peck went with us. That was super fun.
Candy says so they're going to wait for an emergency to do an emergency surgery. Yeah, go figure. That's doctors. I'm going to keep my mouth closed on those things. I've lost several family members to medical malpractice issues, so I try and keep my opinions on doctors to a minimum. I have nurses in Shy's family, and it's just like any profession. There are always bad apples, but I refuse to go to the doctor for pretty much anything. So,
Well, Bob was a surgical nurse or an emergency
I would trust Bob.
emergency room, or I don't know if it's emergency or operating room. I get those things all mixed up. I don't like to hear any of it because it grosses me out.
Right. So Danikin is here. Hey, Kenny E. He was here earlier. And we were just talking about LRB. He just recently uploaded his tour of LRB's place.
Oh, neat.
Now, I think there was a music issue. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I let it play through, but I actually was working on something else. But I think there were some issues with the background music getting a little loud in places. But still, very cool. If you've not seen LRB's stuff, I recommend you go check out Danikin Aquatics. For those of you that don't know, we went to Florida with him when he was on his tour across the country, and that was a blast. So we're just doing shout-outs tonight. That's what's sorry.
If the music gets too loud, just dance harder during that time. I just really get into it when it's real loud.
Hey, you might actually wear your glasses on your face for a change if you dance hard enough.
Yeah. Or I break it.
Right.
Oh gosh, where was it? I don't remember.
And the chat went to surgery stuff, but yeah.
I went in your stream earlier. We saw Mississippi Hippie.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting to text her in a decent time. My problem is I'm up in the middle of the night working in my fish room all the time, and then I sleep during most of the day. And then when I am up during the day, I'm not thinking about it. But I will send you a text at a proper time, and I'm going to try to get some of her guppies from her, because she's got some really cool ones, and I've got some that are, they're kind of recovering, but I lost a whole mess of them, and then I put them in a new tank, and they're doing a lot better there. But it'd still be kind of neat to have some new DNA, I think.
Absolutely. Tim Carter just got here. Hey, Tim, how are you? One of the newest members on the Fisherman Fever channel. Good to see you, buddy. Better late than never, as I always say.
Tim, where are you from?
And Danikin says he is downloading another one with no music. So go subscribe, and when that's ready, go check that out, because it's about an hour-long tour, and Lord knows you need at least an hour to do a tour of LRBs with any type of decency to it. He's got so many tanks. Go check that out. He is from New York.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Let me get my chat back here.
I wonder, he's probably from upstate because he didn't put the C behind it.
Griff is lurking and driving home from work. Will you drive safe, buddy? And it looks like Dave's Aquarium Thoughts has moved up to 1:15 instead of 1:30. So that's awesome.
Dave.
Scheduled for 1:15 a.m. And we'll get the link in here again before we end the stream. We've got about 9 minutes left. So if you've got any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to throw those in the chat. Again, if you put at Fisherman Fever, it will highlight it for me. If you put at Chattanooga Ed, it will highlight for Ed, and he may or may not see that.
Look, I think it's went to sleep.
Oh.
I think I can lower it now.
He's such a sweet kitty. Yeah, for those of you that didn't know why Ed wasn't centered in the screen, it was because he was using his camera to watch his cat behind him.
Yes.
Now he'll jump and rip off your bandana and your headset and your glasses and everything.
And I'll be bleeding.
We'll just rub it into the beard and you'll be okay.
Yeah. I was going to dye my beard today. I'll just do just enough to see a little bit of his white paw. I was going to dye my beard today, but I didn't have time. I got home at about 9:15, and I decided to take a little nap. And so after this, I'm going to eat dinner and not dye my beard. I'll dye my beard tomorrow. But you can see it freshly dyed on the Lefty Show at 6:15. Or no, at 4:15 Central. Nope, Eastern. Oh, gosh. It's hard living
4:15 Eastern time. There we go. Delilah would like to know
Or
what the name of your cat is, Nico. Or Ed, sorry. The cat's name is Nico, and I called you Nico. Wow.
his original name was Q-Tip because when he was a kitten, he would steal all the Q-tips out of the Q-tip box, and they were always all over the house. But he never responded to it. I'd say Q-tip, Q-tip, and he just nothing, like he was deaf or something. But then, so I thought about it, and when you say kitty or cat, they seem to look at you. So I started using that. I went with other languages for cat, and it's bizarre because they respond to the other languages. So, like, I could say it in German, and he'd look, or other. Well, German's is so much like cat, but I did it in Czech, and I did in Japanese, and Japanese he responded to that too, and it's Nico. Japanese cat in Japanese is Nico. So that's how he got his name.
Absolutely. Love it. I'll try not to call you Nico going forward. Mississippi Hippie says, Chattanooga Ed, I got all my shipping supplies except for heat packs.
You know what? I don't think you'd need any heat packs. It doesn't get that cold here. I mean, it's been in the 80s. At least last week it was in the 80s.
Now, we were supposed to have a frost warning this weekend.
Whoa, I didn't realize that.
I didn't either, but my mom is really good about, there's a freeze warning or a frost warning in effect. Be sure you drip your, and so thank her for that. Bless her for that. She's really good about notifying me of those things because I generally avoid the news for the most part. I'll check temperatures if I'm having to ship stuff or if I'm buying stuff, but other than that, it is what it is.
How many languages do I speak? One. I just like to know lots of languages for my subjects that I like cats.
That's great.
So, yeah, I know maybe cat in 8 languages, but that's just because I like cats.
Priscilla is fluent in a couple languages.
Yep.
I'd like to learn some German because one of my plant books I bought is almost completely in German. But it's got such beautiful pictures in it and names for the plants. I'm just using it as basically a hard copy Google, so I could just look through pictures and go, oh, that's what that plant is.
Well, this is what I've learned with German. There's 3 levels of German. There's being able to read it, being able to speak it, and being able to understand it. Being able to understand it's the easiest. Right. I've had German foreign exchange students that used to play hockey for me. So I can understand German to a point. I can barely speak it. So I'd be horrible. And I haven't spoken in 10 years. Even when they call me, they speak in English because they know I'm pathetic. And then reading it's a whole nother story. I couldn't even start to read it.
Right. Pegasus Sister Rena, have a great night. She's going to bed to get some sleep for Kaya's birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday to her. Heather, we said hi and happy birthday. Because Beth, you hit the nail on the head with that one. She said, sounds like your mom has outside plants too. I always know when it's going to get cold just in case I need to cover them. Yes, she has outside plants and is very much on top of temperatures and when she needs to cover them or bring them in. And it's funny. Because she talks to her plants. And so she gets over here and she's like, I couldn't have all this fish. I'd have to say good morning to everybody and good night to everybody. And she'll walk around and go, hello, little fishy. And I talk to my fish too, but it's always funny when you get somebody else come in and start talking to your fish. I get a kick out of it. Priscilla is fluent in 3-ish and half fluent in another 2-ish.
That's awesome. Yeah, I need to work on the German again. I should probably take like a junior college class in it. And I used to speak a little Japanese when I was a kid because my next door neighbors growing up were Japanese. I lived in Kansas City, and that was one of the hubs for TWA. And Mr. Utsunomiya lived next door to us. And I had a huge crush on Coco, and I played soccer with Q, her brother. Sorry. Okay, now what?
I was just gonna say, Lord, now I've lost the comment. Sarah Lynn Snow said, "Fish room fever. That would be nice to have. I have had to use Google to find out the different plant types in my yard. I'm using the native plants for my pond. Yeah, very very handy. Like I said, most of it's in German, but it's got an awesome, probably 100 or so different pictures, like really nice high def color pictures in it. So I got it. Ed's got a cool book there.
Yeah, talking about old books with I bought this at McKay's for $1.50. McKay's is like this big, giant, awesome used bookstore in Tennessee. It's like in all the major cities. But I was reading it, and it was made in the Czech Republic. Or actually, it was made in Czechoslovakia, so that shows you how old it is. But check it out. I mean, all the photos are like colored pencil through the whole book, and it's just every page has what the fish looks like, the name of it. They talk about a plant next to it. I mean, check that out. That is so cool.
That is awesome. You were showing me before the stream. Well, I was going to type a reply. I'll just go ahead and say it. Beth was mentioning her plants would miss her. She didn't talk to them. Again, my mother says, according to studies, it does genuinely help talking to her plants. So she's at the same page. And then you found a cool app to identify plants. I love that. Use it for your job, and it's free. That's a pretty angelfish. It's a pretty picture in general.
I mean, this is just a super cool old book. I originally just bought it so I could tear up the pages. But now I think I might actually try to read it and see what it says. Pretty cool.
All right. Well, it is 12:29 our time, 12:30 now. So I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody for being here. 55 people still watching, 50 thumbs ups. If somehow you followed over here from the Fish Room Fever channel and you're not subscribed to, I can't even see myself to point the right direction, but to Chattanooga Ed, that guy there, hit that subscribe button while you're here. Ding that notification bell. He's got some awesome stuff going on. As you can see, he's got a great fish room there. And he's just a good guy to know. So be sure to do that. And just thank you, everybody, for being here, moderators. And you know the spiel. I'll turn it over to Ed because it's his channel. So.
Well, no. James and I, we're like a team. We're radio DJs. But VJs?
Yeah.
VJ? I don't know.
We're like DJs, but you got to look at these ugly mugs while you're listening.
You don't got to. You can just listen to us. We got no problem.
A lot of people do.
Even though you never know what the cat's going to do. But no, thank you, everybody, for showing up. Sorry I got so derailed so many times tonight. It was crazy. But really appreciate everybody coming in. And thank you to the great mods. Our mods do so much. And you know what? Why is Chevy Fish not a mod? Can you make Chevy Fish a mod for me? Because she is such an amazing person.
I need to get your login info. I deleted it at one point because I wasn't having to go into your studio after we set up. But yeah, I can do that. I can fix it. And I do want to say that Dave's Aquarium Thoughts says I'll be starting early within 10 to 15 minutes after we end here. Very, very cool. So y'all be sure to go check him out. We'll get a link dropped in here. That's all I've got to say, except I love you.
Yep.
You know the deal.
We'll see y'all next week, or we'll see you if you don't catch me on Lefty Show tomorrow at 4:15. You can catch me and James at 7 or 7:30.
Or 7:30 Eastern time, Saturday Night Fever stream on the Fish Room Fever channel. We're going to have a special guest with us, Fantastic Freaks, this Saturday.
And you know how I keep my schedule right? Because I've got lots of times all over the place.
Mm-hmm. I
go to this website called Fish Room Fever. And you click it, and you can scroll down, and you can see everybody who wants to put their day or their time in there. I don't think do you guys say no to anyone?
Not unless you really, really teed me off. And even then, I've actually got people on there, and I'm not going to put names up, but I've actually got people listed on there that have told their viewers to unsubscribe from my channel. We still have their name on there because we're nice and community oriented.
That is nice.
So,
but on that subject, if you need to buy shrimp, buy them from Priscilla. Okay, well, guys, we'll catch you on the weekend.